comment to get more comments, DM to get more DMs, story like to get more story likes, engage to get more engagement. That's just the tip of the iceberg that I learned after posting 3 months daily on Instagram. 7 months ago, one of my YouTube videos got viral, and as we speak has over more than 750,000 views. And I will share some honest insights with you, because let's be real, growing a small account isn't easy. My goal with these videos is to give you a high signal to noise ratio, so when you go back to conquering the world, you have at least learned one new thing. By the way, I'm Jordan, did over $4 million in revenue, hired over 40 people, and I started making videos in 2012. And I posted on Instagram daily for 3 months now, with maybe 3 or 4 days missed. And one of the things I learned is to engage to get more engagement yourself. It makes sense, right? Instagram and these other social platforms, they love dwell time, so they can show you more ads and make more money. And when you engage with others, for example in the comments or DMs, you actually use the platform and make them more money. The CEO of Instagram, I believe he's called Adam Mosseri, actually mentioned that text on Instagram, mainly in DMs, is a huge percentage of total time spent, especially by their younger users. Later in this post, more about engagement, but there's a big but. If you feel down at the moment because your Instagram page doesn't really grow much, or if you stopped some time ago or didn't even start in the first place, which is just another way of saying it is acceptable to you to not start, then I want to say something to you. Not some "you got this girl" or "just do it brother" type of motivational speech. Just the honest truth. And to get to the truth, ask yourself, why do I feel down? Why did I stop? Or why didn't I even start? And I'm very aware that maybe only one person who watches this actually asks him or herself these questions, and not as a mechanical doing and subconsciously not really caring about finding out, but as a sincere desire to really understand what it is that is causing these negative emotions or even positive emotions of a post performing well. To me, asking these questions led to huge realizations. So let me tell you a story. For a long time I wanted to start posting on Instagram, but I did not start because I knew the people who would see it and they would form an opinion, and I knew I would see those people again, some sooner than others, and the fear that they would reject me or maybe even just change their behavior towards me because they have watched my videos and heard my opinion. That realization led me to the following. I didn't start posting because my desire to be liked was greater than my desire to share. And when I understood this, I couldn't accept that. I couldn't accept that other people would withhold me from what I would be doing if there was no other human on earth. Because I can feel it. If there was no other human in the earth, I would still be talking, speaking, creating, finding, flowing, screaming, expressing, discovering art. So if you think that suddenly getting a viral reel will solve your problems, I think you have to think twice, because the root of the problem is still there. You just got a positive emotion instead of a negative one. So let me ask you this. How would you feel if you had no need and no attachment to the views you get? And just because you didn't really experience this state of mind yet, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So let's talk about the myth of consistency. You hear it everywhere. Be consistent. It is screamed through the roofs by every influencer on social media and every motivational speaker on YouTube. And this one is a big one for me, even by the idols I look up to the most, which often has the biggest impact to me. But have you ever questioned the belief that consistency leads you to your desired destination? Let's say you want to walk to Egypt and the Great Pyramids. You step out of your front door and start walking consistently, 10,000 steps a day. Will you get to Egypt? Will you eventually see the pyramids? Now it depends on if you walk on the right path, right? If you walk into the right direction. But 1 degree more to north or south and you may end up in Sydney or Iceland. So how does this relate to social media? By making consistency your goal, you get just that, consistent videos on your timeline. If you made getting a viral video your desire, you eventually get that as well, a viral video. And if you made losing yourself in the art you create your greatest desire, you get that too. A flow state achieved every single moment where time is lost and full immersion is experienced. So be careful what you desire, because the greatest desire always wins, is something I found when I look back at the things I wanted before. And staying ignorant, closing your eyes, or not opening them also has consequences. Don't believe me, just look at your current situation. I bet it is created by the consequences of your past desires. So don't believe anything of what I say, just examine for yourself if consistently posting brought you anywhere or where you want to go. This leads me to the untruth about production quality. And with production quality I mean this, right? So fancy lighting, good camera, that kind of stuff. Take a look at this example. This reel was my second highest performing video in the last 20 days. And as you can see, the production quality is awful, especially when you compare it to this kind of stuff. The audio is okay, but the rest is not good. The low light pixelated footage is awful. You can barely see my face. So if posting 4K videos with the perfect softbox lighting and cinematic backdrop with candle lighting would perform better, then why is this 10 AM low light video with horrible lighting and production quality one of the best performing videos? Again, question for yourself if production quality really matters. Does it play a role? Sure, but are we looking for the dry, leftover breadcrumbs or the freshly baked, crispy baguette? And this leads me to the scam of hard work. The content that you spend the most time on might not be the content that goes viral. Replay that part if it didn't reach your brain hemisphere. To prove my point, my most viral video, with currently over 750,000 views, was created in 90 minutes. 90 minutes. In comparison, all the other videos I posted around that time were way longer. It took me maybe 5 to 6 hours per video. And I remember creating it. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I was actually in a rush to go to the gym, which was about to close in like 2 hours. So I quickly created a keynote presentation, which is how I created my videos back then. I turned on the camera, recorded it with CleanShot, which is a screen recorder, and uploaded it to YouTube. When I came back from the gym, I quickly changed the title and thumbnail, and it took off. Quick side note, by the way, the main reason why this video took off and got viral, very honestly, was because of two things. One, the clickbait title, which I don't really recommend doing, and two, the trending topic. The interview was just released. And this story proves to me that hard work is a fallacy propagated by the ignorant people in our lives, which is almost everyone. But once again, question for yourself if your hard work in your life truly got you what you wanted. Did you work hard? What did you get? And is that what you wanted? And lastly, did that came from hard work or from something else? Which brings me to the fallacy of hope. Hope is a terrible disease that only a tiny percentage of the population can escape from. The hope of consistency, the hope of hard work, the hope that sacrifices today lead to tomorrow's betterment. So I have some questions for you. Do you hope that your Instagram page takes off? And do you think that that hope serves you? Or could it be that that hope leads to a wasted life? That all your hopes fall apart the moment you are about to die and makes you see them for what they truly are? Just hopes, unrealized goals, and intangible results to show for it. Once again, don't believe me, just ask yourself. And this brings me to the perspective switch. Most creators, and I guess you too as well, want viral videos. But nobody seems to ask the question, is a viral video actually good for me? Is it truly lots of views that you want? Or do you want something else? Do you want lots of money instead? Or do you want the YouTube golden play button to boost your ego when someone sees your room? Or do you want to be recognized on the streets when you walk there with your partner, friends, or family? Or do you crave to be liked by more people than the amount of people that bullied you at school? Whatever it is, do you really want those views and the negative consequences of wanting that too? If you believe that I'm pushing you into the opposite, you're wrong. I'm simply implying the following. Not questioning these things could lead to a wasted life or a waste of time. Are you okay with that? A common thing that I hear and also saw for myself is that a day of missing posting on Instagram is just a mental problem, not a real one. And don't believe me, just look at what happened when you missed a day or when you are missing a day. Spoiler alert, nothing happens. And by the way, interestingly, if you let your Instagram story expire, I've often seen that it gets me more views on a new one. Just because everyone around you keeps swimming in the pool doesn't mean you cannot attack the ocean. The one who attacks the ocean might drown, but to him he died at peace. She found what she truly looked for in life. He found it in the ocean, and when she found it, she was okay with drowning. Not that she wanted it, but she was okay with it. He didn't want to drown, but he didn't fear it any longer. he was at peace, finally. So where do you want to swim? Which leads me to playing the game. Have you ever seen Instagram as the game that is being played by the character that you call I, myself? The further I see through the games in my life, the better I play, the more I win, without making winning my desire just a natural consequence of controlling the joystick from the third person instead of myself. But enough philosophy, let's get to some practical truth. So what does work practically on Instagram? Engage to get more engagement is a practical truth that I found on Instagram, but also on X, Twitter, and other platforms too. But I only found out through own experimentation, lots of exploration, many trials and errors. And the serious individual who's watching this knows that that is the only way. I can tell you lots of things, but you don't really believe in it, or you don't really know it is true unless you try it for yourself, right? You might believe in it, but I don't think belief really serves you, does it? So what can you experiment with practically? What did I experiment with? Here's some inspiration. Recording outside versus inside. I noticed that some of the videos that are recorded outside perform way better than inside. Maybe that's because lots of people post inside, so you stand out by posting outside, and maybe the platforms want to show more outside footage and videos to some users, right? To get a variety. So that's something you can try out for yourself. For me, outside is something I want to do more of. From the example I gave earlier in this video, you can experiment with wearing clothes or barely wearing any clothes. In my case, just a swim short. That one seemed to perform better, and I'm not sure if it's because of that reason, but it's something you can experiment with too. I have the assumption right now that exposing more of your body performs better. A small one is using hashtags versus no hashtags. A big one is creating a new account. This is a question maybe a lot of people have. And this is something I'm experimenting with too, basically double posting the same video, but with changes, so it's not the exact same video, because I'm not sure if that's allowed. So still making significant changes to the video, but posting it on a new account that is maybe more niche. That is something I'm trying, and see if there's any differences. Also posting video with music and one without, and choosing the music within the music library from Instagram, for example. Or maybe not even using any music below the video. Because if you look at all the other reels posted on Instagram, most of them contain music, so you stand out more by not having any music. But this is something you can try out too. Editing the alt text is a small one, and I didn't really understand alt text before, what it really meant. But after I read the post from Jay Alich, he's big on LinkedIn, he mentioned some things that I found interesting, and I don't really believe in the reasons he gave for it, because he mentioned we need to be more inclusive for other people, but I don't subscribe to the idea that we do things for others. We ultimately are very egotistical creatures and do things for ourselves. So, but your posts can perform better if you create the right alt text, so it is more inclusive, and people who have hearing problems, reading problems, whatever it is, they get now shown your post. Besides that, I think the platform might also get more SEO keywords from it. I didn't really notice yet a big difference, but it's something you can try out for yourself. Then a big one that is talked about, which I'm not sure if it has a big impact, it depends on your audience, but it is posting time. So knowing who you post mostly for, where do they live, is useful, and then posting for the most popular times, maybe a little bit before or after popular creators post, can be a great thing to experiment with. For me right now, I'm sticking to 8 a.m. and 1 p.m/2 p.m. EST, New York time. So do with that whatever you want. And then you have, for example, the polls feature on Instagram that you can try and experiment with, but that only works or increases your reach if people actually engage with it. But when they do, you can expect to increase your reach. So when you see the opportunity to use it, it can work great. And a big one is new features of the platform. Usually these platforms like Instagram, when they roll out a new feature, usually first in the US, but when they do that, you want to experiment with that. At least I do that, because it's just a smart way to see if those new features work, but with increasing your reach. And usually they do, because Instagram wants to get more data, so they are pushing a little bit more content from the people who uses their new features. And a big one recently rolled out last week, where you can now, they started using it in the US, where you can now post reels that are longer than 90 seconds. And this is a really big one, because TikTok wants longer videos so they can show more ads, make more money, and Instagram sees that too, and they now also want to have the same. So it depends on the feature, but this one is a big one, and when it is available in your country, I highly recommend experimenting with those. Another one is giveaways, because when you have something to give away, you might as well try this out. When you look at this guy, the Daisy Rich Kid, you see a 10x difference on the post where he did a giveaway and asked people to comment, like, follow, and that kind of stuff. So it has a big impact, but you have to have something to give away that is valuable enough, right? Something else you can do is to ask people in the comments to comment something so they can get your valuable thing that you mentioned within your reel. I see a lot of creators using ManyChat. I haven't used it yet. It's a verified meta partner, so automatic responses in the DMs, comments through ManyChat shouldn't lead to any issues. But it's a great way to increase engagement on your post while giving people actual value, maybe character email address. So this is a significant one to try out that I plan to start using myself as well in the future. Then you have another one, which is Tonality. I love this quote from Kapil Gupta, which is, "Tonality is a much more potent communicator than content." And you can make your videos loopable, which is another thing that I've experimented with, and I see it as low-hanging fruit. It is not difficult to create. It takes a bit more time to edit and stuff, but when you have it, it usually increases the average view duration. So that's what I do. I make most of my short reels loopable. Another one which is significant is the thumbnail, right? Most of the people think it is only important on YouTube, but it is really important on all of these platforms, because most of these platforms have an explore page or a timeline feed, and that is where your thumbnail is shown first. People will see the thumbnail first, and if you do it right, you can get a higher click-through rate. Platforms like Instagram and Facebook allow you to upload a thumbnail, but I have a hack for you if you also post on other platforms like X, Threads, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn also allows you to upload a custom thumbnail through the desktop, by the way. But all these other platforms, if you want to have a custom thumbnail on the video there, they don't allow you to upload it. What you can do is you can upload that thumbnail in your editing software as the first 2 frames of your video, as you can see here. And when you do that, you can now select the frame if the platform allows you, or they automatically pick the first, what they see, the first frame of the video, so your thumbnail is automatically shown. And I highly recommend that. It takes more time, but it can significantly increase your click-through rate. Again, something to experiment with and see if it's actually worth your time. Another one is body language, right? You can be standing or sitting or whatever body language you have. For me, I've noticed that, for example, some video where I was standing was performing better. So all of these data points, they can help you understand what works better, and you can basically repeat all those small things and just create a system for yourself where you do all the right stuff and less of the thing that doesn't work. And it's almost effortless to create better videos that get more views or whatever it is that you want out of those videos. Another thing that you can think of is trying the complete opposite, right? So what I mean with that is, right now, let's say this is the type of video I shoot for Instagram, where I'm inside with high production quality, these kind of lights, these colors, these style of captions, and instead doing the complete opposite, going outside in the rain, low production quality, pixelated footage, still good audio, because I guess bad audio doesn't make sense. Trying the complete opposite and seeing if that works, because by doing something completely different, you can actually see a big difference, usually either positive or negative, and just find out things more quickly. Another thing that you can try is subtracting things instead of adding them, right? Usually we think of adding things, adding new captions, adding stuff in our video. Try to simplify things as well and see if that works better. And then this one is a popular one: niche or no niche, right? Should you have a niche, or should you talk about literally anything? Well, something to understand is that with organic content, you can't control your demographics as you can do with Facebook ads, if you've ever used that before. Because in Facebook ads, you can select the age group, the person, where they live, their interests, etc. But with organic content, it just spreads out and you don't know who it will reach. And so far, my understanding is this, that trying to control it might limit your reach. So it's something I'm experimenting with. I'm posting both niche content on specific account and also the general content, lots of general content on another type of account, so I can find out for myself, because it's a difficult thing and I haven't really heard from anyone like what is really the truth there. So again, it all comes down to own experimentation. I guess that's the only way to really figure out what is true. And then pattern recognition. You have to make assumptions, right? Big creators are guessing too, but they might be better at guessing. So I usually like to start from their best guesses. I don't try to reinvent the wheel, but later on I experiment on their format, for example. Something I see myself doing is I check Instagram on both mobile and desktop multiple times a day, and I make assumptions about like why this video performed better or worse that I posted the day before. Those assumptions, they create data points, and you can decide to note them down in Google Sheets, but I notice myself not doing that often, so it's not something you have to do. But if you're serious about growing on Instagram, then understanding what works better is a necessity, and pattern recognition is a great skill to build. So here are the things that, for me, I have found to be most impactful. The highest impact from highest impact to lowest impact on Instagram specifically. Number 1 is the hook. Otherwise no one watches it. Number 2, the topic. Number 3 is anything to do with retention. Number 4 is the thumbnail. And lastly, anything else, like recording outside or whatever it is. But what I just said only applies if it is views that you want. But what if you want to create art? What if you want to stop wasting time and create for yourself instead of for others? To that person, I may say, what about your message? Do you believe in it? Personally, I stopped making videos about Andrew Tate because I no longer found it interesting. I also didn't start making videos about religion either, even though the majority of my 5,000 plus subscribers on YouTube really like that topic, but I didn't love it. So, what are your anti-goals? What is it that you want? What is A that you want, but without B? To me, the biggest thing that I don't want anymore is wasting time, because I've done enough of that already. And making videos just for money is not part of it anymore. As much as possible, I want to make them for its own sake. But if you make videos today purely for the money, or most of it for that reason, then there's nothing wrong with that. Just find out if money is truly what you desire. So let me tell you a quick story. This week, when I was walking for more than an hour to arrive at a place with almost 0 people, and at that place in the middle of the grass fields with the only sound of cows around me, at that place I was truly myself. And oh, did I like that person. I was making crazy jokes in my head, but I also recorded some of them, and I was just having a lot of fun. I would say I reached the place with no mind there, mainly because there were no other people around me, which is what I was looking for, and thus no one around me to impress, or better said, no one around me to show the self-image that I created for myself. The self-image of the successful entrepreneur, or the masculine man, or creative artist, or the fill in the blanks for yourself. And walking into the pasture land with cows around me worked for me. But you could argue it is not solving the root of the problem of wanting to maintain a self-image to other people. At the same time, I noticed for me it is a great place to start discovering from, a place full of silence. But I'm not saying that you need to start walking or doing the same to solve your problems. I'm not saying you need to do anything. The above was just a natural urge for me to go outside and start walking, to wander towards a place without people. Just a feeling deep inside, and I'm glad I followed it, because the destination is worth it. So instead of giving you a next thing to do or a 7-step list, I will ask you a question. What is your heart telling you that you are trying to suppress? You may pause here and let your mind wander for a bit. Let's talk about the invisible cage. Are you a big bear in an invisible cage, or a small bird in the clear blue sky? Will you die without ever having lived, or will you live in truth any moment? What do I mean? Out of all the animals that you can choose, why do you want to become the big bear that drives the Ferrari, owns the jet, lies on the yacht, but lives in this invisible cage of regret? Don't you want to be the small bird that flies in the sky, full of truth and sincerity? The bird that understands what he truly wants, even if he was the only bird in the sky. What do you truly want to get out of this? Whatever it is you're doing. What are you optimizing for? I did over $4 million in revenue, hired over 40 people, because those were my greatest desires, which is very shallow looking back at them, because the fundamental reasons behind those goals were flawed. All of them were external, and anything external can't really last, does it? Because it is always dependent on something you can't control. So what are you optimizing for, and why? 4 months ago, when I was walking in the forest, I had a big realization, because when I asked myself, what is it that I want if I continued walking in this forest right now, but knowing that I was the only human on earth? What would I want? And I couldn't think of anything I would want. And then I started thinking, it's crazy to me how basically everything in our lives is built on reasons that have something to do with external things. I couldn't think of something I truly wanted for myself if I was the only human alive. And since then, the question didn't leave my mind, and I found some answers. So my question to you, what is it that you want if you were the only human on Earth right now? Again, I recommend pausing here and let that question sink deep into your brain and let your mind wander. It brings me to the following, the walk and talk habit. It's something I started doing maybe 9 months ago, and I basically walk outside and record and start talking to my voice memo app. I question my beliefs, I question my mind, and I speak them out loud, which helps, because when you hear the things you're thinking, I don't know what it is, but it does wonders. Clarity is a natural consequence of it. Few do it, few will find peace. By the way, I'm not saying you should go outside right now and start walking and talking into your voice memo app. That just worked for me. And it came from a natural desire, it came naturally. I started doing that for myself, not because anyone told me. But it may inspire you to do it, so in that case, well, to that person I say, try it out, see if it works for you. I just found it to be incredibly effective for me. And if you want to find something that works for you, I highly recommend you to just explore and experiment, but never follow, because following is for followers, but the greatness that you desire is found alone, led by your own path. So let's talk about the curse of comparison. When you're walking your own path, it is tempting to look at others and see how they are walking on their path, especially the successful ones, right? The people you look up to. And comparing what you have with what they have is a natural consequence of it. So ask yourself if that is a net negative or net positive to you. A quote from Naval that I really like is, if you are counting, you will run out of patience before success actually arrives. Counting is for the unserious, because he or she is looking for a goal or a milestone or a trophy, and trying to glue a series of events or moments together that we call happiness. But the serious individual wants to find peace in their daily pursuit, moment to moment, every time, from doing what he was born to do. So my final words, maybe you were looking for motivation before you watched this, but remember, the successful person isn't looking for motivation. His peace is found in no need at all. Her peace is found in no attachment. And isn't it peace that you want? So if you feel yourself being attached to the amount of views that you get on your current videos, you may ask yourself why and why and why. And if you truly do that, you may find some deep answers. You may make some true realizations, and those may lead to effortless changes, like speaking without the need to perform, or creating without the need to create, achieving flow state without the need to be in flow. Those may be the result of honest questions and honest answers. So you may leave inspired, but the truth will tell, and questions may lead to understanding. So do you understand?